Now we review Mickey 17. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so a film I really wanted to see was Mickey 17. And I know I'm really late to the game on this one. I've just come to the realization that I'm not going to see a lot of films in theaters. And by the time I get to them, they're not going to be hot anymore. So, I mean, my subscribers are kind of the people that, well, we do more obscure films anyway. So, yeah, Mickey 17 was a science fiction, or is a science fiction film about a man who, in order to just escape a terrible situation, he becomes an expendable. And this means he's on a space mission to colonize another world, and he's basically saved as a data file, and they can print him whenever they need a new one. So, he dies, and he's brought back. And every time he's brought back, he gets a new number. And this is number 17. And number 17 gets lost, and number 18 is printed, and now you have two Mickeys. So that's kind of your conflict there. It's not. But it's part of the dynamic that you have two Mickeys, and neither one of them wants to die. So they're navigating this science fiction universe where they have to remain unknown, but every Mickey is different. Every Mickey has its own unique personality. Mickey 17 is more closer to the original, where he is basically a sad and broken human being. And Mickey 18 is a psychotic serial killer who you should be afraid of and want to die. So, yeah. And this space mission is partaken by a Donald Trump-esque character, played by Mark Ruffalo, who, he's a disgraced politician in this case, and he's going to another world to colonize so he can be in power. And there are a lot of things that resonate with this movie. In fact, I think this movie is going to become a cult classic. I really do. Mickey 17, it brings up the themes of individuality and who we are as people, and the extent to corporate greed and our willingness to destroy. And that's just one of these things about this movie, is that there's a lot. I mean, the corporate greed is done to an extreme level. And I will have to admit, I didn't laugh once. This is a comedy. I didn't laugh once. And, yeah, I don't laugh at a lot of things. I'm a very serious person. Some people chalk this up to my Ukrainian ancestry, where apparently in Ukraine you don't smile. So I didn't find this movie funny, but I did find it entertaining because I like the fact that there were themes of, like this guy is a test subject and they do terrible things to him, and he simply endures. Because I've worked in places where, they basically did experiments. Like one experiment I did was, they decided that the people that worked at the company would come to work more often if they were putting their paycheck into their gas tank. So they kept trying to force me to work further and further from home. This was an experiment, and it failed. The people that ran that experiment were eventually fired, but it didn't do anything for me that they were fired. I stuck by my guns, but then the next people did the same thing. So, I've been in this, but not to the same extent. So this is an exaggeration of reality. That's one of the great things about science fiction. So, to be completely honest with you, if you're like a Star Trek nerd, which I am, this is going to appeal to you. Not the new Star Trek, the good Star Trek. Like the Jean-Luc Picard, Next Generation, or the original series Star Trek. Because it's a reflection of real life done to the extreme and brought into new context. And that, as a film, makes it worth watching. So, I would actually give this film like a 7.5 out of 10. It's the upper middle of your watch. It's not the top of your watch list, but it's the upper middle. I know it flopped, but did you know that Fantasia flopped when it was made? So, yeah, this is a very solid film. I found it enjoyable, but then it is my cup of tea. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it was terribly funny, but I did find it extremely enjoyable. But that's just my opinion. And I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. I'm Richard.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Fred the Facehugger, and I'd like to point out that this world isn't a nice place. But you know who's trying to make it a nice place? The owner of this channel, yes. The owner of this channel does things like pay for ocean cleanup, and have trees planted, and even feed orphans in an orphanage in Mexico. Yes, it's a real thing, I'm not kidding. I may be a face-hugging alien from a horror movie, but I'm not a liar. Anyway, when you comment, like, and subscribe, you're supporting that better world, and whereas it may not make a big difference, it may be the difference between one more tree planted, one more pound of trash out of the ocean, or one child not going hungry tonight. So, think about it. Shouldn't you comment? Shouldn't you like? Shouldn't you subscribe? I certainly would if I were you. I'm Fred.